Assalamualaikum and hello everyone. This study is related to Sustainable Development Goal 8, which focus on decent work and economic growth. SDG 8 aims to promote inclusive and sustainable economic growth, as well as full and productive employment, especially for young people. Despite Singapore being a developed country with strong economic performance and low overall unemployment, youth unemployment remains relatively higher compared to adults. This is mainly due to factors such as limited work experience, skill mismatch, and changes in the structure of the economy. Between 2004 and 2023, Singapore experienced several major economic events, including the 2008 global financial crisis, economic restructuring from 2013 to 2016, and the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020. These events caused fluctuations in economic growth and affected labor market conditions, particularly for young job seekers. Therefore, the research problem of this study is to examine whether changes in economic growth have a significant impact on youth unemployment in Singapore.
Hi, my name is Diana Lisa binti Ridwan with metric number 103812. So today I'll be presenting about the data and statistics. So the data set used in this study consists of two key economic indicators. So first, youth unemployment rate, which represents the percentage of individuals aged 15 to 24 who are actively seeking for a job but they are unable to secure a place. Next is GDP growth, measured as the year-on-year percentage change. So both indicators are sourced from secondary data. Next, types of data. The study used quantitative second data obtained. The youth unemployment rate and GDP growth rate are both numerical indicators measured in percentage, making them quantitative variables suitable for statistical analysis and trend comparison. Next, method and sources in data collection. So the data used were collected through secondary sources, primarily from International Economic Database. Youth unemployment rate obtained from published labor market datasets. Meanwhile, the GDP growth was sourced from national accounts and economic performance reports.
I'm Iza Nazira. I will present data representative for categorical and quantitative data. So for this line diagram, the first graph shows youth employment rate. It decreased from 2004 to 2008, then increased 2009 due to economic crisis. So from 2010 to 2019, the rate was stable, increased again in 2020 because COVID-19, and then decreased 2021. So, the second graph shows GDP growth rate. GDP grew strongly before 2008, dropped during the 2008 until 2009 crisis, recovered in 2010 and dropped again in 2020 due to COVID-19 before improving in 2021. Overall, both graphs show how economic crisis affect employment and GDP growth rate. So, this slide shows categorical data using pie chart. For the year employment rate, it's 50% of the data fall in the moderate category. So about 25% is slightly lower, 10% represent higher employment, and only 5% show extreme employment. So this means very high employment is fake. For the GDP growth rate, about 40% of the data show low to moderate growth, 30% represent moderate growth, to 20% show higher growth, and only 5% show negative or zero growth. So, this pie chart clear show the percent distribution of each category. This slide show quantitative data using histogram. So, for the year unemployment rate, most of the data is between 8.5% and 9.49%, showing the youth unemployment is usually at a moderate level only a small number of the year record unemployment above 11.5%, which means extreme cases are uncommon. So, for GDP growth rate, most value fall between 0.01 to 4% and 4.1% to 8%, showing generally stable economic growth. So, negative growth or very high growth above 20% occur in only for few years. Overall, the histogram show the most value of concentrated in the middle range, which is extreme value happening rarely.
Next, I'll be presenting about the numerical measures. So 5.1 is measures of central tendency. From the table shown, we can conclude that overall expansion of economic despite the hurdles for young workers in the labor markets. Next, 5.2, which is measures of dispersions. The youth unemployment rate in Singapore from 2004 until 2023 was relatively stable, while the GDP growth experienced significant fluctuations. Next is 5.3, comparative analysis of time periods. So we have divided into 4 time periods, which is every 5 years. Next is 5.4, which is interpretation in the context of chosen SDG. So SDG 8 aims to promote sustained, inclusive, and sustainable economic growth, productive employment, and decent work for all. So youth employment is important component because young people are more susceptible to unemployment in the labor market, particularly during the economic downturns. In 2004 until 2007, Singapore's GDP growth was going strong. Meanwhile, the youth unemployment rate experienced decline. Positive relationship expected under SDG 8, which states that the strong economic growth tends to create employment opportunities.
Hello, my name is Nasara Mosuli. This slide presents the correlation analysis between youth unemployment rate and GDP growth rate in Singapore from 2004 to 2023. Recent correlation was used to examine the direction and strength of the relationship between two variables. The correlation coefficient obtained is negative 0.0774, which indicates a very weak negative relationship. This means that while higher economic growth is sometimes associated with lower youth unemployment, the relationship is not strong or consistent across all years. This can be seen during major economic events such as the global financial crisis in 2009 and the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020, where economic downturns were accompanied by higher youth unemployment. However, the weak correlation suggests that economic growth alone is not sufficient to reduce youth unemployment. In line with Sustainable Development Goal 8, this highlights the importance of combining economic growth with targeted youth employment and skill development policies.
The findings of this study have important implications for achieving Sustainable Development Goal 8, which focus on decent work and economic growth. First, the result support SDG target 8.2 by showing that youth participation in the labor market contributes to productivity and innovation. Persistent youth unemployment, however, risks underutilizing human capital. Second, the relationship between economic growth and youth unemployment highlights the importance of SDG target 8.3, which encourage proactive employment and entrepreneurship policies, especially during economic downturns. The findings also align with SDG target 8.5, as lower youth unemployment is associated with higher labor productivity and stronger economic performance. Finally, SDG target 8.6 is supported by the importance of education to work, transitions, and skill development in protecting youth during economic challenges. Overall, coordinated policies are necessary to ensure inclusive and sustainable economic growth.
Next, I will present the conclusion. Statistical analysis help to clearly explain the relationship between youth unemployment and the economic growth under the Sustainable Development Goal 8, which focuses on the decent work and the economic growth by analysis data over a long period from 2004 to 2023. Clear pattern and a long-term trend can be identified more accurately. The result from the correlation analysis indicate that higher youth unemployment rates are often associated with lower GDP growth. This suggests that when a large proportion of young people are unemployment, overall economic performance tend to weaken. This finding provides strong support for evidence-based policymaking as they highlight the importance of the creating job opportunity for youth and the other strengthen economy growth. Overall, statistic analysis play a crucial role in the monetary progress toward SDG 8 and in the supporting sustainable and inclusive economic development. That's all from me. Thank you.